Alright, so let's set the scene. Picture this. Jason Lee, the man who built an entire media empire off saying what others were too scared to say, randomly decides to throw a shot at Beyonce. And not just any shot. He pretty much corners her in public, hinting that he's sitting on some marriage-ending secrets about her and Jay-Z. Like what? You'd think he'd lost his mind. Fans dragged him for even trying it. Clout chasing, they said, desperate for attention. But now people are looking at him sideways like, wait, what if he wasn't bluffing? This whole mess didn't just pop up overnight. It started bubbling way back in December, when Beyoncé threw her Renaissance movie premiere in London. You know, the kind of exclusive invite-only event where celebs and influencers line up just to be seen. And Jason, who's always been loud about backing black artists and spending big on their tours, like 40 grand big, thought for sure he'd be on the guest list. But nah, Queen Bee iced him out. No invite, no shout-out, nothing. And Jason did not take that lightly. He went on air and let it fly. Called her out for not supporting black media. Talked about all the money he spent, all the times he showed up for her and how she left him hanging. He didn't just sound hurt. He sounded calculated. Like someone who knew exactly how to turn rejection into leverage. And then came the moment that shifted everything. During a live taping of his show, Jason looked dead into the camera and started teasing receipts. Not just vague hints either. He said he had information that could shake Beyoncé's image. But here's the kicker. He wouldn't spill if Beyoncé sent Kelly Rowland to sit down for an interview on his show. Man basically tried to trade silence for a booking. That's not petty. That's blackmail. Light now. At the time, most people brushed it off. Jason being messy again. Right. But fast forward to now, and things are looking real different. Divorce rumors are swirling. Heavy talk of Beyoncé walking away from Jay-Z is suddenly everywhere. And guess what fans are doing? Yep, running back to that Jason Lee clip like it's prophecy. Suddenly it's not clout chasing, it's foreshadowing. Here's where it gets extra sticky. People started digging into the deeper layers, and what they found ain't pretty. We're talking about old whispers, long-forgotten interviews, and a string of uncomfortable coincidences, like the fact that Jay-Z and Diddy have been tight for decades, like brothers. And now that Diddy's name is swirling in some seriously dark allegations, Jay's bond with him isn't just a footnote, it's a red flag. Because let's not forget Jay has admitted in the past to cheating on Beyoncé. That's not speculation, that's facts. But the newest rumor that Beyoncé found out Jay was still doing shady business with Diddy, even after everything started falling apart for him. And that's what allegedly pushed her to the edge. Not just infidelity, not just disrespect, but aligning with someone like Diddy while the world watches his empire collapse in scandal. And suddenly Jason Lee's little rants don't sound so crazy anymore. Maybe Beyoncé didn't invite him because she knew he had dirt. Maybe that interview with Kelly wasn't just a petty request. It was the price of his silence. And maybe, just maybe, he's still holding the rest of those receipts in his back pocket, waiting for the right moment to blow everything up. Because if this is how wild things are getting without Jason speaking, imagine what could happen if he finally did. Jason Lee wasn't just talking to hear himself talk when he made those sly comments about getting a message to Beyoncé. It wasn't some random bluff. He sounded like a man who knew exactly what pressure points to hit and who had already tried. He even name-dropped Kelly Rowland like a bargaining chip, saying flat out that if she didn't sit down for an interview, he was going to start dropping receipts. And not just any receipts, he made it crystal clear that what he had could break the internet if it ever came out. The guests on his show didn't even try to hide their shock. You could see it all over their faces. Wide eyes, frozen mouths, complete disbelief. Jason kept teasing, kept dangling whatever this secret was just enough to make people lean in. The man was playing chess while everyone else was stuck on checkers. And it worked. He stirred the pot just enough for people to start wondering, what does he really know? Now here's where things get heavy. The internet started connecting dots, and they went way back, like decades back. That little Jay-Z and Aaliyah rumor, it's resurfacing. The Foxy Brown connection back on the timeline. And once you start digging, it's hard to ignore the pattern. Jay-Z has been surrounded by whispers for years. Relationships with much younger women, power dynamics in the industry, questionable friendships, and if even half of that stuff is true, it paints a completely different picture of the empire he's built. Jaguar Wright, who's known for calling people out with no filter, added gasoline to the fire. She came right out and said, Jay is worse than Diddy, not louder, not messier, just smarter, quieter, and way more calculated. According to her, Jay's been lining people up and stepping aside while they take the fall, all while keeping his own name squeaky clean. But if Diddy starts to crumble under the weight of his own man, there's a chance Jay could go down with him. Then there is the weird energy at public events. People have been pointing out how stiff Beyoncé has looked lately, especially at the Grammys. Jay-Z gave this big, passionate speech about how the awards have never truly honored her. And at first, it seemed like a sweet gesture. But look closer. He didn't say her name, didn't even call her his wife, just this young lady. And Beyoncé, she didn't look touched. She looked exhausted, like someone holding in a scream. Right after that speech, they dipped out. No photos, no celebration, no lingering to soak in the applause. They grabbed Blue Ivy and bounced. And fans noticed. Jay just got honored with a Global Impact Award, and instead of soaking in the moment, he dragged the Grammys, praised Beyoncé without really saying her name, and then dipped. That's not normal behavior. Something's clearly off. Meanwhile, Beyoncé's been grinding harder than ever. She's been launching a new hair care line, dropping visuals, rolling out music. She's moving like someone building an empire solo, and some fans think it's intentional. Like she's preparing to step out of Jay's shadow and secure her own financial and creative independence before any more mess hits the fan. Because if Jay really does get caught up in Diddy's chaos and more skeletons come flying out, she's going to need a clean break. Not just emotionally, strategically. And this is what's got everyone on edge. Jason Lee's timing wasn't random. He started hinting at this stuff right after Cassie dropped her lawsuit against Diddy. That can't be a coincidence. Jason knew the public was already watching the industry with fresh eyes. So when he started dropping clues, the timing hit harder, and now everyone's wondering, was this his way of giving Beyoncé a final warning shot before letting the secrets fly? Jay-Z's silence has become its own kind of noise. While the rumors spiral and Jason Lee plays puppet master with the threat of untold secrets, Jay remains publicly unbothered. But that's exactly what's making people uneasy, because behind the scenes, there's talk that he's been moving strategically, trying to clean up whatever mess might be crawling toward the surface. One theory floating around that he's been quietly lawyering up not just for damage control, but for full-on war if Jason decides to release what he's got. Insiders are whispering that Jay's legal team is already watching Jason's every move, collecting clips, timestamps, and transcripts just in case things get ugly. And while the idea of suing someone like Jason Lee sounds bold, it wouldn't be the first time a celebrity tried to shut someone down with paperwork before the story ever sees daylight. But the real question isn't whether Jay has lawyers. It's whether those lawyers can actually stop what's already in motion. Beyoncé, on the other hand, isn't playing defense. She's on a full PR assault, smiling through events, posting curated shots, promoting her brand like nothing's wrong. But fans aren't buying the image anymore. Not when the cracks are this loud. Some even think the rollout of her hair care line was timed to distract from the noise. A calculated move to stay ahead of the narrative. Because if the truth drops and it's ugly, her business needs to be solid enough to weather the storm. And then there's the personal angle. Because at the core of all this gossip and chaos is a marriage that may be on its last thread. Jay and Beyoncé have built a billion-dollar empire together with music, fashion, investments, and children all tied into the same name. Walking away isn't just about heartbreak. It's about dismantling an entire kingdom. And that's why some believe Beyoncé hasn't filed yet. Not because she's not ready emotionally, but because it's a logistical nightmare. There's also speculation that both sides are holding dirt on each other. That Beyoncé might have her own skeletons. And part of the reason she's moving so carefully is because if she burns Jay down completely, he might take her with him. It's a mutual checkmate situation. Neither one can make a move without triggering the other. And in that kind of standoff, silence becomes the strongest weapon. But Jason Lee doesn't care about their standoff. He's not invested in their peace treaty. In fact, he thrives on tension. And he knows exactly how to drop just enough breadcrumbs to keep everyone hooked without getting himself sued. That's the part that's got fans watching with popcorn in hand. He doesn't have to say everything. He just has to say enough. And let's not ignore the timing. The industry is shifting. Powerful names are getting exposed. Legacies are being questioned. And people are more willing than ever to believe that the biggest stars might not be who they pretend to be. In that climate, one well-timed leak could turn into a firestorm. Jason knows this. That's why he's not rushing. He's waiting for the perfect moment. The one where the impact will be biggest, where the fallout will be global, and where he gets to say, "I told you so." So now the clock is ticking. Beyoncé's fans are holding their breath. Jay's allies are staying quiet. And Jason Lee, he's still smiling, still hinting, still dangling that mystery. Maybe he's bluffing, maybe he's not. But if he ever decides to speak fully, this won't just be another celebrity headline. It'll be the unraveling of one of the most iconic couples in music.